When I think about how I show up in the world, wife, mother, sister, friend, provider, entrepreneur, content creator, these are some of my favorite roles on the planet. But they don't define the totality of who I am or who I want to be in this lifetime. They don't fully encompass the essence of me or touch on the legacy that I want to leave behind. Welcome to The PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Welcome to The PA is In, the podcast dedicated to redefining success for physician associates. I'm your host, Tracy Bingaman, a clinician, career, and negotiation coach here to help you navigate your career with confidence and peace. In today's episode, we're stepping away from the purely professional sphere and diving into a more personal aspect of life, working on focusing on discovering who we are outside of our roles as PAs, and for me, as an entrepreneur and a podcaster. Recently, I was listening to, believe it or not, another podcast, and they shared this prompt. Someone asked me to describe who I am, and I couldn't say my profession, that I was a wife, or that I was a mother, and that just hit different. This really resonated with me, and I believe it's a challenge that many of us face. When I went through my season of complete and utter burnout, leading me to quit my job without warning and without another professional position lined up, I felt very adrift. Before that, I knew who I was professionally. I was a PA. This career that I loved so dearly and dedicated my life between the ages of 16 and 23 to become, and between 23 and 33 to thrive, crash, and burn out in. And I was continuing to pour from an empty cup. But when I quit, I was obviously still a PA in terms of the fact that I had been trained and board certified and was licensed to practice medicine. But when I wasn't practicing anymore and I didn't know what the future held for me in terms of professional pursuits, I felt a little lost. During that in-between time, I realized the importance of being a human being, a person outside of the roles that I filled for so long, the roles of wife, mother, PA, teammate, friend, daughter, sister, and healthcare provider. Since that time, I've added a few new hats to my ensemble, those of a clinician career coach, walking through strategic career decisions alongside my fellow healthcare providers, that of being a podcast host and creator, creating and hosting this show for years, now topping more than 250 episodes, and also the hat of entrepreneur, finding a way to bundle these products and services in a way that serves clinicians and helps them to get unstuck, to become financially free, and to avoid their own story of burnout. In a world where we often lead discussions and connections with others with, tell me what you do, we are not often in places where we are encouraged to share who we are outside of the roles that we play professionally and who we are connected to personally. Over the course of the last year, I've been working on, as I am a work in progress, just like any other, giving myself time and space to rediscover who Tracy really is. Today, I'm going to be going a little off script and sharing what I'm learning in this process, how I'm exploring, and what I've been spending time doing, and the questions I'm asking myself throughout this process. When I think about how I show up in the world, wife, mother, sister, friend, provider, entrepreneur, content creator, these are some of my favorite roles on the planet. But they don't define the totality of who I am or who I want to be in this lifetime. They don't fully encompass the essence of me or touch on the legacy that I want to leave behind. So let's dive into who I am really and how you can be encouraged to discover these unique and special parts of yourself too. Finding the perfect gift for everyone on your list, well, it can be quite a challenge. And when you're a busy professional trying to choose thoughtful, high quality, personalized gifts, you know that all too well. Thankfully, there's KML Expressions, a PA mom owned business that can personalize almost anything. From ornaments to occupation specific items for PAs and more, Crystal has got you covered. Don't even get me started on how cute her stuff is. Even the hardest people to buy for, there's a gift for them at KML. Head to the link in the show notes to place your order today. So, I'm going to walk you through a series of questions that I've been asking myself and reflecting on that you can turn around and apply to your own life. Question 1: what are my hobbies? For a long time, if you had asked me what my hobbies were, I would have laughed at that question. It would have been ridiculous to consider that I had the time, bandwidth, or energy to pursue anything outside of my baseline obligations. I wouldn't have had anything truly significant to answer, honestly, in like the last 10 years. I'd been leaning into work. I've been growing this business. I've been creating this show, being the best wife and mom I can be on any given day. But it's important to take time to think back to activities that you enjoyed before becoming a healthcare provider, before getting married or being in a relationship with others, or starting your business, or even hobbies that you enjoyed as a kid. Try to reintroduce these hobbies into your routine, even if it's for a relatively small amount of time each week. Currently, my hobbies include decluttering and simplifying our home. I've been using the decluttering calendar I shared with you a while back, which I will link in the show notes. Each day has a 10 to 30-minute decluttering task. Each month has a new room or section of your house. So far this year, I've deeply decluttered and cleaned out the kitchen, bathrooms, my closet, our bedroom, and this month I'm focusing on the living room per the calendar. I love to have a plan for something like this because historically I have started a habit of decluttering and then not stuck with it because I didn't have specific tasks. I love having the calendar that says today do this, so I know if I'm on track, I can check something off and I have a specific thing to do on a specific day. The next hobby during this season is that I'm training for a triathlon. Not just any triathlon, my first Olympic distance triathlon ever, and the first triathlon I've done in about 10 years, 10 summers ago, since I was pregnant with our now 9-year-old son. In fact, he keeps saying to me, Mom, remember when we did that triathlon together? Yeah, buddy, I do remember that. And I was doing the majority of the work as you were generally a passenger for that triathlon. So if you need me between now and the end of summer, you can find me in the pool, getting ready to swim a mile in open water, riding my bike, and lacing up my sneakers for progressively longer runs. The next hobby I've been leaning into, both personally and as a family, is hiking. Hiking is something that I enjoyed as a kid. I was raised in the wilderness of rural Maine, and I spent a ton of time outside, both in the forest around our house, but also hiking on dedicated hiking trails. I can remember my dad taking us to do local challenging hikes and bringing friends along on those random days off of school, like Columbus Day or teacher in service or workshop days. I actually got myself a Wondery water bottle this year last year for Christmas that has a spot for a sticker for each and every national park in the United States. This water bottle has been a strangely motivating item. I've been carrying it around with me. In fact, it is right here. I've been carrying it around with me and hydrating with it, but also every day I see all of these incredible places inside of the United States. There is so many incredible places to travel to without leaving the US. Certainly there are places all over the world that are incredible. But this water bottle and these stickers has spurred me to plan trips to see some of the most incredible places and scenery in the country. And with those trips comes a fair amount of hiking. Our kids are finally old enough not to be wheeled, whiny, or carried in some of those backpacks on some longer hikes. And this is something we've been leaning into and enjoying as a family. often taking our pups to explore the network of trails that we've come to enjoy locally. And so hiking is something I've really been enjoying as of late. Next hobby that I have been embracing is reading for pleasure and trying to do one nonfiction book a month. So I should say, I've always loved reading. Since I was a little kid, hiding under the covers, reading Nancy Drew novels with a flashlight well past my bedtime. Sorry, Mom. I have adored the experience of getting lost in a story. Fiction is a favorite of mine, and many a modern romance or historical fiction novel can be found in paperback, on my Kindle, or checked out of the local library in a pile on my bedside table. I've really been leaning into expanding the types of things that I read this year. From picking up new releases by authors that I don't know to aiming to make it through one nonfiction book a month. Our family has started going to libraries most Mondays after school before practice. The kids each got their own library cards and they have enjoyed checking out different books. One of them is super into drawing and has checked out nearly every drawing tutorial book that they have available at our local library, some twice. One is heavy in her unicorn era, and another has made his way through all of the Harry Potter books in rapid succession. Reading is something that I always do for escape and for fun. And so it's great to see my kids sort of leaning into that and having it be a family experience of something I'm doing as a hobby for me, but also including them in. The next thing I've been focusing on is biohacking and improving my health and longevity. Actually, one of the nonfiction books that I'm reading this month is How Not to Age. It's written by the same author of How Not to Die, and it talks a lot about nutrition and things that we can do to increase our longevity, that we can actually affect our epigenetics and some of the things that we're doing in our everyday lives. This is last but certainly not least, this focus on health and wellness and dabbling in biohacking. I'm focusing on things like movement and nutrition, devices and habits that make me both feel better and are backed by science to improve health and vitality and longevity. Through this process, working with coaches, improving my mindset, and working to heal my relationship with both my food and my body, I feel better than ever. If this is something you'd like to hear more about, specifically what I'm doing in terms of biohacking, weight loss, health habits, etc., I want you to let me know. Send me an email to themoneypa@gmail.com because I am considering doing a deep dive into these changes that I've made, which is a little outside the comfort zone of what I normally share about on this show. But if you're interested in hearing more, let me know so I can know if that's something that would resonate with you. Question 2: how do I define success and fulfillment in my personal life? Just like the introduction to this show says, we have the opportunity to redefine what success looks like and feels like for us. I've realized that for me, true success is a sense of peace, a balanced nervous system, and being able to fit in movement in a joyful and meaningful way alongside all the other things that I have to do. When I was burned out, my nervous system was completely dysregulated. At the time, I was unable to sleep. I was perpetually in a sympathetic nervous system activation, stuck in that fight, flight, freeze without the coping mechanisms to complete the stress cycle. I was exhausted and tachycardic, and I was just this insomniac who wasn't getting anything done during the day and who was up all night worrying about the day. Currently, a balanced nervous system for me exists when I am diligent about prioritizing my own basic needs and also by scheduling regular times for activities that bring me joy and relaxation. Our family operates on a crazy color coded Google Calendar that has all of the kids' events, and those things tend to go on the calendar historically as a priority. I have realized that my own basic needs need their own color coded thing on the calendar. And I also need support in order to be able to do those things. I can't plan rest and time and a workout in a time when we have other kid obligations unless I communicate to Dan that, hey, I'm going to need you to do X, Y, or Z on Tuesday afternoon so that I can get the time and space that I need. It doesn't have to be a formal structured activity in order for you to block time for you to read a book, go out with friends, spend time doing something that you enjoy. Having the time, energy, and bandwidth for both activities that I enjoy and also rest is a huge part of how I define success for me. Whether it's reading, hiking, or simply taking an uninterrupted shower, self care is crucial for maintaining a sense of self outside of all of these various roles that I play. If you're often freezing at work, you need scrub mates, the insulating underscrub to treat your shivering. Like a bear hugger for providers, these underscrubs will keep you warm even in the coldest environments. Scrub Mates offers a sleeveless option approved for the OR, as well as long sleeved options for those who work elsewhere. They even have a patent pending pocket for your valuables. No more tying your rings to your scrub drawstrings. Life is too short to have goosebumps all day. A PA founded company, Scrubmates is on a quest to make your day more comfortable with super soft, functional, and affordable scrubs and underscrubs. Head to wearscrubmates.com to fight the hospital freeze. Question 3. What kind of relationships do I want to cultivate? For me, deep, meaningful relationships are incredibly important to me. Over the past few years, I've prioritized nurturing friendships and connections outside of my immediate family, outside of my colleagues and business circles. Certainly, I'm close with my family and I want to pour into my connections with colleagues, but my deepest, truest friendships exist outside those two circles, which I often had defaulted to in the past. In my busiest seasons, I find that friendships are one of the first things to slip. When I'm incredibly overwhelmed, my text messages go unread, or to be completely transparent about what's happening over here inside of my phone, I open them. I think about responding. I don't respond, and then I drop the ball on many communications, especially when I'm feeling scattered and overscheduled. I'm focusing on both depth and honesty inside of my friendships. And actually, as someone who has struggled with establishing, maintaining, and finding my people as an adult, I do have plans for an episode dedicated entirely to friendships. I find that it's hard to find adult friends when you are out and working and no longer in these ready made situations to cultivate relationships like you were in high school and college and school, where you're in this ready made group of friends. Have you ever heard that quote? You will be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people that you meet and the books that you read. I've been leading into both reading meaningful, worthwhile books that I enjoy, and not only meeting people, but going deep, being truthful and vulnerable, and consistently cultivating those relationships to be meaningful. Relationships are everything, and I've been focusing on that a lot more these days. Question 4. What do I want my legacy to be beyond my career and family? Personally, I want to be remembered as someone who is present, calm, and caring. Instead of focusing on what my life's purpose is in terms of clinical practice, impact on the community, content creation, and things like this show, I've been asking myself, what is my purpose during this stage of life? This question helps to eliminate the urgency of defining my entire legacy and allows me to focus on what's important right now. That word, legacy, can feel daunting and overwhelming and bring up images of obituaries and funeral homes. For example, I've been feeling a pull to focus less on accomplishments with external accolades, awards, presentations, revenue goals, and specific work projects, and focus more on being present where my feet are planted. In the past, I've struggled with thinking about work when I'm at home, worrying about my family while I'm at work, feeling pulled, tugged, and yanked into many different directions, leaving my interactions to be weak and empty because my body was there, but my mind was focused elsewhere or even distracted in that moment. I've continued to lean into one on one dates with my kids and focusing on forgetting at home, literally forgetting my phone at home or leaving my phone in another room so that my brain can be present in the same place as my body. Question 5. What boundaries do I need to work towards? Boy, boundaries are an area where I sometimes feel like I'm absolutely knocking it out of the park, and sometimes I really struggle with. I've come to realize that establishing strong, clear, and enforceable boundaries in my life is crucial to who I am and how I want to show up in the world. Specifically, building space between my work, my content creation and business operations, and my personal life. That is key for me to continue to avoid burnout and maintain a healthy work life, business work life integration. Before you think that I'm over here doing this perfectly, allow me to reassure you. Last week, I felt just very unsettled. We had been traveling, and I came back to an office with an overwhelming in basket, an overflowing email inbox, and I had a day just filled with these less than ideal patient and colleague interactions. I walked out of the office feeling frazzled and like honestly that I wasn't at my best at work that day. I remember texting Dan when I was walking to the car, and I said something to the effect of, "Today was really hard. I have a lot left to do, and it will be waiting for me in the morning. I'm going to set work down and focus on getting the kids and getting everyone to where they need to be this evening." For me, sometimes simply saying out loud what the boundary is, or in this case, texting my husband about it, can help. Now, that's not to say that I don't spend some time mentally planning my approach for the next day or thinking about a difficult conversation or a call I have to make the next day, but that I do that inside of a container where I don't let that spiral to take over the whole evening to distract me from the interactions and the places where I want to be present in the evening. Another tip I have for you in this boundary building realm is to give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to think about the thing that's pulling your mind away. If you're trying to hang out with your family and you feel perpetually distracted by something, take a couple of dedicated minutes. Write down, create a plan of how you'll tackle it, then set it aside and continue to focus on the task at hand. Sometimes that act of writing it down or thinking it through so that we have a plan is enough so that it's not constantly tugging at us. For me, from a very practical standpoint, this means only checking email when I'm ready to act on it. Another thing that I have found is that I am such a lover of podcasts and audiobooks that I oftentimes have AirPods in. That's totally fine for me to have AirPods in when I'm folding laundry or doing some of these mindless tasks, like laundry or dishes, or while I'm driving somewhere in the car alone. But when I am around my family, I found the habit of like, oh, I'm just going to finish this show. I'm just going to finish this episode. I'm just going to finish this chapter of this book. And then I would be present, cooking dinner, getting the kids, running them somewhere. And I would have that AirPod in. And that would be pulling my mind away from the presence and that interaction that I wanted to be having. I'm also working on plugging my phone in an hour before bedtime outside of our bedroom. I got an alarm clock that is not my phone, and I've been trying to leave my phone either in my office or in the kitchen outside of our bedroom at least an hour before I want to go to bed, which is a work in progress for me. And I've been focusing on cultivating the opportunity to connect with people in person rather than online. I love online connection. I think there's something to be said that is so incredible for decreasing the barrier for being able to connect with others. However, there is nothing quite like being in the same room with someone or hugging your friend or seeing someone in person and having that energetic vibration of being in the same room as them. Question 6 is what brings me joy and fulfillment outside of my professional and parental roles? This may feel a little bit repetitive that I'm continually saying it's not about work and it's not about your partner and it's not about your children and it's not about your dogs. When I used to introduce myself, I would say something to the effect of, I'm Tracy. I'm a PA, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I've got 5 kids, 2 dogs, and 1 husband. And although all those stats are true, that introduction is what I do professionally, what my career is as a PA, and who I exist in the world in relation to. It's not really an introduction of who I am or what I enjoy. In this past year of focusing on activities that bring me joy and fulfillment, like reading and engaging in those hobbies I talked about earlier, and doing things like practicing mindfulness and meditation and fostering meaningful connections, I've come to discover or really be reminded of the fact that I am a unique human being outside of what I do as a PA, outside of what I do as a podcast host and content creator and entrepreneur and mom and dog mom and wife and friend. Journaling has been a huge way for me to refocus and pay attention on what gets me excited and energized, and to help me to feel encouraged to explore my passions in this season of life. Each morning, I do a journaling practice where I identify the top 3 things that I want to focus on during the day. That's a touch of productivity and kind of gets me focused on what I want to accomplish. Then I focus on things that energize me the day before, identify what drained me, and I think about 1 or 2 things that if I could live today twice, I would do differently. This helps me to identify pain points or potential weaknesses during the day when I expect, oh, this transition from this thing to this thing, or feeling frustrated or being, in a hurry at this time of the day. If I could do today twice, what would I do differently? It will help me to think about being proactive about those troublesome spots in my day. I also write out my new beliefs and the biohacking healthy habits that I'm working on to implement. I sketch out my workouts. I write that across the top of the page, including the activity, the duration, or the distance details, and also when I'm going to complete the workouts. So that journaling has helped me to sort of identify each week. I review I'm looking at my journal right now, what has energized me, what has drained me, and what my big takeaways from the week are. And I use those to inform the coming week. So if I felt a week where I was really drained and I really didn't feel like I had great energy, if I look at what energized me or what drained me, I could do more of those energizing activities and less of the draining activities. That being said, there are some things that I cannot eliminate from the schedule altogether. But if I find baseball practice to be really draining, is it something that I can walk around the field while one of my kids is at practice so I get a little bit of an energy boost in that early evening? Maybe take some work, do something productive, take a book that I enjoy. Is there things I can modify about those experiences that would make them less draining and more energizing as an event? Question 7. Who is helping me along the way? At this point, I've lost track of the amount of times that I've said relationships or meaningful connections in this podcast about who I am and how I show up in the world. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention those who are helping me along the way. The older and arguably probably wiser, hopefully wiser, that I get, the more eager I am and willing I am to pay for advice, guidance, mentorship, and knowledge. Right now, on my quest to exist in this world in a way that feels healthy and sustainable, in a body that I adore, with energy to spare and a calm level relationship with food, I invested in a healthy eating and weight loss coach. She's actually coming on the show in the future, but working with Kate Johnston has helped me to lose, at this point, nearly 40 pounds so far in a way that doesn't feel limiting or restrictive, and that feels incredibly sustainable for me. Unlike other coaches who give you a plan of macros and intense workouts, Kate focuses on how our thoughts generate our feelings, which lead to actions, or inactions, which lead to specific results. By understanding this process, we can engineer the results that we want and identify the circumstances we find ourselves in, pinpointing the thoughts we're having to generate the feelings and actions that lead us to a specific result. All of that to say, when I realized that prioritizing my health was something that I valued, something that mattered to me and was worthwhile, I invested in a coach to walk with me along that journey. Another person on this journey with me is Katie Trustin Turney. You might remember Katie from her interview back on episode 204. Katie is a professional Ironman triathlete, and she is my triathlon coach. Each week, she puts together my training plan for my triathlon training and takes the guesswork out of what workouts I should be doing as I prepare for this first Olympic distance triathlon. These women have been walking with me throughout this past couple of months, and it feels so great to have experts in my corner who are there uniquely supporting me, sharing their systems and wisdoms, and helping me along the way. Whether it's mentors, friends, paid coaches, or a clinician strategy coach like me, work to build those resources and integrate some help along the way. You are not meant to know everything or to do this position, your role in life, or your job alone. Seek to find people who can walk along this journey with you. It is so, so worthwhile. Thank you for joining me on this little personal side journey in today's episode. I hope these questions and reflections inspire you to discover who you are outside of your professional and familial roles. It's crucial to give yourself the time and space to explore and embrace all the facets of your identity. If you found today's episode helpful, please do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to reach more PAs and provide valuable content to our community. For more resources, tips, and support, to book a call with me, visit my website at tracybingaman.com. Connect with me on social media. LinkedIn is where I'm spending a lot of time right now. That, for me, that connection, that ability to connect with you exists outside the walls of my clinic and outside the bounds of my role as wife and mother. Until next time, this PA is out. Take care and remember to embrace who you are beyond all the roles that you play and all the hats that you wear. Congratulations, you've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.